This is the new Honda ZR-V, and it's a little bit like Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, and Princess Diana. Why? Because it's a middle child. It sits in the Honda range between the smaller HR-V mini SUV and the larger CR-V SUV. Is it going to be an awkward middle child though? Well, in this video we're going to find out, because I'm going to talk you around the exterior, show you the interior, see how practical it is, take it for a drive, tell you what's good about it, what's not so good about it, and of course I'm going to launch it to see how quick it is from 0 to 60 miles an hour, because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Car Wow. And FYI, I'm the younger child. Obviously. Buy, sell, Car Wow. Let's start this review by talking through the design of the Honda ZR-V. And bits of it remind me of parts of other cars. For instance, all but the entry-level model get these prominent exhaust pipes, and the shape of them and the fact that they're actually just enhancements and the real exhaust is inside reminds me of a Mercedes AMG vehicle. Moving down the side, you see this portion here? That's a little bit Porsche Macaroni. Wheel sizes are less Macaroni though. They're all 18 inches, though depending on the trim level, you get different designs. This being the range-topping Advance, you have diamond cut. Ooh, lovely. Sort of. The design of the car from the side, it looks like this part was designed by one person who never spoke to the person who designed this part. Do you see what I mean? It's like, it's not that cohesive. Anyway, onto the front and another car that this looks like. I'm getting vibes of Ford Mondeo, see what I mean? Then these slats in the grille, once again a little bit Mercedes AMG. I like the front, I like the back, not so sure about the sides. There we go. Prices starts from £39,000. This range topping version is £43,000. That makes it about £3,000 more than the equivalent Honda Civic. Here on the inside, the ZR-V feels really nice. Quite like the dash design. It's fairly simple, not too in your face. I like the way the air vents work like that. They're behind this like matrix. It's cool. You've got soft leatherette here on the dash and soft materials here and here and here. It's only when you go a bit lower down things get scratchy. Though I'm not so sure about this. There's quite a lot of wobble in the center console. I do like this though. The fact that Honda hasn't been tempted to put the climate controls all in the touchscreen. So you can alter fan speed very quickly when you're driving and temperatures. Brilliant! Can't believe I'm saying that's brilliant. It's how all cars should be. Moving on to the infotainment system itself, regardless of which model you go for, you get this screen here. And unlike Honda systems of old, it is way better than before. It's easy to use, and you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, though only Apple CarPlay is wireless. That brings you on to the digital driver's display, and this being the range topper, you get full digital dials. However, the two lower spec models, they have like this part digital, part analog arrangement, which is weird. It's a bit of a shame because it's quite a nice driving position, and there's enough adjustment in the steering wheel and in the seats. And the top two specification cars, the Sport and this Advance, you get electrically adjustable seats and heated steering wheel. And I should point this out. These paddles here, they're metal. The paddles on my Audi R8 Daily Driver are plastic. And that's a supercar that costs like over £150,000. Though these aren't actually gear shifters. More on these later. Let's move on to practicality. So we've got some storage under here, quite a decent space. Some more under here, good place for a mobile phone if you're connecting it wired. So you've got normal USB there and USB-C there. Then on higher spec models you get a wireless charging pad there, and for the old people we have a 12-volt socket as well. Then you've got your big cup holders there which can hold larger bottles, though can you see the problem with that? Look, no, not with that one, sorry. Imagine two of those. It sort of gets in the way of your knobs. Sometimes you want easy access to your knob, don't you, and that's going to hamper that somewhat. And you're going to need to put big bottles in there because the door bins are quite narrow. You just about fit that in. But you can forget about fitting a really big bottle in. No, that's not going to work. Will it fit in the glove box? Oh, it's damped. Fit. No, that won't work either. I want to show you this. Nice big. Some visors and big vanity mirrors. Got a place for your glasses. What else do you need to know? Oh yes, range topping Advance gets leather seats. The Sport, which is the model below it, has part leather, and the entry level, whatever it's called, has cloth seats. Let's check out the back seats. Knee room, that's all right. Headroom though is a little bit tight on this range topping version because it gets this panoramic glass roof which does eat into headspace. There's plenty of room for everyone's feet though, because look, you've almost got a completely flat floor. The problem is this car isn't all that wide, so it feels a little bit of a squeeze with 3 people in the back at once. I do think that a Volkswagen Tiguan just feels roomier and better for carrying passengers in the back. And if you want to see my full in-depth video review of that car, click on the pop-out banner up there, follow the link in the description below. Speaking of which, when it comes to fitting a child seat, the ISOFIX anchor points are really easy to get to. The problem is that you do have to move the front passenger seat forward a bit to fit a rear-facing bulky seat. Another thing I've noticed is this. Because you've got batteries underneath the floor and to still maximise headroom, Honda have had to fit this with seats which are quite low down. As a result, you don't get much under thigh support. You can sort of stretch out underneath the seat in front of you to help a little bit, but you do feel like your knees are a little bit higher than you'd otherwise like. In terms of other things to note, you've got some big old pockets. Look at the size of those! You've actually got all right door bins back here. They seem slightly larger than the ones in the front. It's easier to fit that bottle in. I'm not having to shove it in aggressively. You've got a couple of USB ports there. You have an armrest with a couple of cup holders there. And this is a shame. The rear window doesn't go all the way down. But look at this. Heated seats here in the back. That's quite good. Is all forgiven? Not quite. And that brings me on to the boot. The ZR-V has a luggage capacity of 380 litres, which isn't all that much for this type of vehicle. For instance, a Nissan Qashqai has over 500 litres of load space. And if you want to see my full in-depth video review of that car, click on the pop-out banner up there, or follow the link in the description below. In fact, Honda's own Civic, which is a smaller car, has a boot capacity of 410 litres. What's going on? Still, it's not all bad. For instance, there is no load lip to lift things over, so you can slide every items in and out quite easily. When you fold down the rear seats, look, they lie completely flat. And so it's not difficult to slide things all the way to the front. And you've got some nice features such as, look, little hooks, 12-volt socket, and that sort of thing. However, if you go for this range-topping version, you get a banging Bose stereo, but it includes a subwoofer which is here, whereas on lesser models you don't have that, so there's a little bit more load space, and that could be the difference between being able to carry something to your destination or having to leave it behind. Anyway, that brings us to 5 annoying things about the Honda ZR-V. I find this gear selector arrangement a little bit confusing. So that's to put it into drive, that's neutral, and you pull on this to go in reverse. Though for some reason my brain wants that to be drive, not reverse. It just seems a natural, like, let's go. And it keeps catching me out. Unlike with some of this car's competitors, the reversing camera doesn't have its own inbuilt washing function. So the lens can get covered in road grime, and then the view through the camera is very poor, and to clean it you have to get out and rub it with your finger. In fact, if you look at it, even though the weather's been very dry, you can see that the lens is covered in some stuff already. See what's also annoying? There's no 360-degree camera available on this car at all. And 360-degree cameras are brilliant when you're manoeuvring in town, which is what this car should be designed to do. While you can alter the amount of regeneration using these pedals here, there's no one-pedal drive even when you have it in max regen mode. Look, if I lift off the accelerator, like I am now, it's going to continue creeping forward non-stop. Not going up a hill, so it's not going particularly quickly, but it's still going forward into this tree. We are driving into the tree. We have now driven into the tree. The doors don't extend all the way down to cover the sills, and the sills do protrude quite a lot, so if you're driving and it's a bit dirty, when you get in and out, you're always rubbing the backs of your trousers against this part of the car, and you get filth on them. The design of this centre console and how it protrudes here means that you're always brushing your leg against it. In fact, you end up resting your leg against it. And you might be thinking, that's not bad, it's padded, right? Well, actually, it's not that padded. And the way it's positioned is just directly on that little sticky outy bit of bone here on your leg. I hope everyone else has got this as well, otherwise I'm just weird. Sorry to flash my knees, but look, you can see, look, see, it just rests there. Just rests there where the skin is really thin. Hurts after a while. Thankfully, this car has plenty of cool features to help make up for all this. Here's 5. Honda makes very clever load covers, and while the one in the ZR-V may not be quite as clever as the concertina one you get in the Civic, which does this, it's still quite good because look, it's got this fold in it, which means that while you think it won't fit underneath the false floor, it bloody well will! Adaptive cruise control comes as standard across the range, so it will use a radar to keep you a safe distance from the car in front, automatically accelerate and brake to maintain your speed, and it will auto steer to keep you in lane. The range-topping advanced version of the ZR-V, which is what this car is, comes with a heads-up display as standard. And what's really cool about it is that the collision detection system not only flashes a warning on the dash if it thinks you're going to drive into the car in front of you, it also flashes it up in the heads-up display where it's much clearer to see. Here's a little clip of it happening now as I try to drive into the back of our camera car. It's clever, isn't it? This might not be a proper off-roader, but you do get electronic hill descent control, and it allows you to control the car's descent between 2 and 12 miles an hour. You set the preset, and then the car will automatically apply its brakes as you're going down a hill to make your descent controlled. Let's say you've gone shopping for a nice young man. You can have your hands full, right? So what you can do is press this button here, and it means that if you've got the key in your pocket and you've got your hands full with your shopping, and you walk away, obviously you can't shut the boot with your hands, it'll automatically shut. God, you're quite a heavy young man. You can only get the Honda ZR-V with one engine choice, and it's a 2-litre petrol. However, the way it works is a little bit different. You see, it actually acts as a generator to charge a battery, which then powers a motor that drives the front wheels. Though under certain circumstances, the petrol engine can couple to the front wheels to provide some added drive. It's all a little bit confusing. The car's also an automatic only. It uses a CVT gearbox, which is slightly unlike any other CVT I've tried before, and you'll see why when I drive it. Anyway, total power output, 184 horsepower. In terms of trim levels, there's just 3 to choose from, and I've forgotten all of their names. Anyway, now let's drive this thing. Let's start off by seeing what the FRUV is like to drive in town. So, how well does it do that small SUV thing? So the first thing to note is the driving position. Sitting a bit higher than in a normal hatchback, such as the Honda Civic. So the view forward's really good over the bonnet. Makes it easy to place the car. These pillars aren't too fat either, which is good. So too are the door mirrors. Nice and big, lots of visibility there, and a good view at the back window as well, which is good. Another thing I like, the brakes. Sometimes in hybrids, the brakes can feel a bit grabby, just because you're regenerating the battery for that first part of your braking, but here, very, very natural. Now for the turning circle. It's 11.3 meters, which is a little bit worse than a Kia Sportage. That is 11.1 meters. Will I get it around there? Come on, come on. Then will I get it around this one? But it's a little bit better than a VW Tiguan. Regardless, it's not good enough to get my way around there. But I don't think even a Kia Sportage will have managed that. So, oh, whoa! Those buttons do confuse me. I almost reversed into the car behind me. Right. Good. Well, it wasn't good, was it? I'll tell you what's also not quite so good as I expected, and that's the suspension over bumps. So, you think it's going to be quite soft and compliant, But this does feel set up a little bit on the firm side. So when you hit a bump or a pothole, it's not terrible, but it just feels a little bit firmer than you'd imagine from this kind of car. A Citroen CX-5 or C5X, can't remember what it's called, even though I've actually got one. Yeah, that's it. Looks good, looks better than this. Anyhow, the Citroen has smoother suspension. Hopefully there's a trade-off when we go on some faster roads, which we'll do right now. However, before I get on the faster roads, it's worth pointing out that all this mooching about around this little village, I'm doing it in electric mode. You can't actually go that far in electric only mode, but it's quite nice for just like little short journeys, or for when you're cruising around a village. Sounds a bit dodgy, doesn't it? Cruising around a village. But you know what I mean. And when the petrol engine does kick in, it is seamless because it's not really connected to the wheels most of the time. It's a very odd setup. You're basically like driving an electric car with a petrol engine that's acting as a generator. The result means that the pickup is actually really good. You just put your foot down and it responds more like an electric car than a normal hybrid, where the whole engine, electric motor and gearbox have to like communicate and decide what to do before you actually make any forward progress. This, no, press the accelerator, the electric motor does its job and you go forwards. Actually, here's a good opportunity to test this car's pickup and throttle response. So here's a piece of dual carriageway. I'm doing 40. I'm now going to floor it. Let's see how quick it gets to 70. 3, 2, 1, floor. Actually, there was a bit of a pause there. Surprised me. Now it's off. And you might have noticed something funny then. The car seemed to change gears. It sort of fakes changing gears. Some hybrids, which use a CVT gearbox, just hold the revs constant and they make this noise. This, you think it's got gears when it hasn't. Look, I'm going to do it again. Look, flooring it. It's going to change up now. See? Weird, isn't it? It's so clever that it does that. I really, really like that. What I like less is the amount of road noise you get. It's quite a lot of it. There's also a little bit of wind noise from those big door mirrors. This car isn't quite as quiet to travel in as a Kia Sportage, and if you want to see my full in-depth video review of that car, click on the pop-out banner up there, via the link in the description below. One last thing to check, the economy. Honda says this should do about 49 miles to the gallon. This one is averaging 46. Well, 45.9, but you know, let's round it up. That's actually quite good. Finally then, we come to a twisty country road. I'm going to put it into sports mode. Now let's see if there's an upside to that slightly firm suspension. Here we go. Do you know what? For this kind of car, it goes around corners really well. Also, when you rev it and you're in sports mode, it actually makes a good noise. But here we go, around the corner. Yeah, it just grips so well. It really does. However, I am noticing that even though I'm going quicker over bumps, it hasn't settled down. The suspension is just a little bit too firm, I think, for this type of car. They've gone more on the side of sporty handling than actual like relaxation, which I think is what most buyers of this type of car really want. I actually think that the Honda Civic itself does a better job of blending comfort with handling than this car. That's always the issue when you have a car that's slightly raised up. You have to fit them with stiffer suspension to stop them leaning so much in the bends. Honda says the FRUV will do 0 to 60 miles an hour in 7.8 seconds. But let's find out the reality with my specialist timing gear. Sporty noises. Seems to just be holding the gear there like a CVT rather than changing up. I'm so confused by this whole system. But I can't fault the 0 to 60 time, 7.14. A lot quicker than Honda claimed. That is impressive actually. So then, what's my final verdict on the new Honda ZR-V? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should consider the ZR-V. It's an alright car. It's just not quite as practical as many of its key mid-size SUV competitors. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. Let me know what you think of my verdict in the comments below. Click on those windows there for some more videos, and on that box there to go to CarWow to sell your car the easy way. Thanks for watching.